I'll make some announcements at the beginning.
Okay. But, all right, Dr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Thames, is he here via Zoom?
I don't know.
I do not see him.
Okay.
Andrew is.
Mr. Higginbotham?
Here.
Mrs. Smith? And Mr. Harden?
Here.
So you got Mr. Thames absent, so you got a quorum.
We've lost Mr. Thames, I think.
All right, and
Understandably so.
if we could add to the record that Mr. McCluskey was unable to be here due to his mother in the hospital, taking care of her. So if you'll make a note of that. Okay, first of all, let's look at the minutes. We probably did not have time to review all of those. Have we reviewed September 15th? I read over them.
There was one change Mr. Higginbotham found where I had 2.4 instead of 2.8.
Yeah, the 2.8, yeah.
But I didn't know if y'all had a chance to look at it, and I did not have time to do Thursday's minutes yet.
Okay. So do you want to carry that over, or do you want to make a motion to dispense with the reading of September 15th and approve them as distributed?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Harden to dispense and approve them as distributed for September 15th. Seconded by Mr. Higginbotham. Any other questions, comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed by the same sign. That's 4-0, passing.
And I promise to catch y'all up before the end of the week.
Say that again.
I said, I promise I'll do my due diligence to catch y'all up on I owe y'all still the 17 minutes and the
Okay.
minutes.
That's no problem. We're getting
We've
caught
had
up.
wine stuff too, though, but not to make excuses.
Okay. Well, my grand plan has not come to fruition because tonight we were going to focus on final items. That was the plan. But as you can tell, we're a little bit behind. We have not done the full employee funding matters and organizational changes and other funds. So I propose, unless there's a strong, opinion from finance, that we go until 5:30 tonight, and then we might have to go to 5:30 on Thursday. Is there any problem schedule-wise, or do we need to? We can schedule another final meeting on Monday at maybe 4:30 if we need to, before we pass the budget on the 28th. I hate to do that, but we might have to do that. What are thoughts from the committee?
5:30 is fine with me.
Okay. Mr. President, is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
All right, okay, very good. Mr. President-elect? Good, okay. And Miss Andrews, you're good. Okay, perfect. I wanted to wait till all of y'all were,
Hardy's over there too.
I'm fine.
Well, I know, but
I do whatever Walter tells me.
exactly, that's right. So we don't, yeah. Just
Hey, Dr. Jones, I know y'all had, I think from listening to the finance committee meeting last night, y'all have some adjustments you're going to make to capital possibly on the turkey foot. But in talking to Chief Hill, because I know you wanted us to try to find some payroll reductions, and I do have some to talk to you about that he made on the payroll worksheet that bleeds over. But if you wanted to entertain one right now too, in the general fund on tab 3, page 15, this is not on the payroll worksheet, but he, in a good faith effort to reduce expenditures, wants to bring tuition reimbursement, which is the third line item down, from $60,000 to $48,000.
All right, hold on a second.
Tuition reimbursement, you said?
Uh-huh.
Okay, from 60 to 48?
Yes, ma'am. Did you say a motion, Mr. Higginbotham?
Okay, hold on one second. I'm trying to find it.
It's on page 15. It's on tab 3.
Third line.
Got it, okay, I found it. Okay, make that 40,000?
48.
48,000, okay, moved by Mr. Higginbotham, seconded by Mrs. Smith to decrease that to 48,000. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed by the same sign, that passes 4-0. Okay, very good.
And last thing, Dr. Jones, on his worksheet, I didn't print them out for y'all yet, but they made some specific changes related to the vacant and the promotion, some of the bottom line items. So I didn't know whether, when you got to that point, if you wanted me to call those out, and then we can just, y'all can change it all as one motion, or.
I would like to get the recommendations for all of those vacant positions and handle it in one motion. That's what I would like to do.
Some of them we may have to have a little discussion about. That's why I don't know if we could do it as one fell swoop, but I thought we could knock out the
Well,
ones
I
we
want
for sure
to,
could.
let's just make note of each one of them, and then come back and vote for all of them.
Okay.
Okay, so could you go over that? Or
Are you okay, Robert, for me to go to vacant positions? The vacant funded, are you okay with me to go over there? Okay, so, I had sent one out, I think, to everybody, and then, Mr. Jones asked me to work on it today to see if we could, reduce it even more. I think the last time it was like 1.4 million, and now we've gotten it down to about 1.1 with some discussion. So it'd be easiest if you, I should have printed the sheet out, but we're still kind of working on it. If you'll go to the payroll tab on tab 1,
Yep.
and go flip to Department 15, which is fire.
It would be,
It's on the upper left corner, it'll say Fire Department 15, they're in department order.
yeah,
But if you'll go to the second page of the fire department, and let me pull up my revised one here. So in talking to Chief Hill, they have already made 2 promotions, which he announced in council the other night. Zan Glover got promoted to captain, and Brandon Broadhead to battalion chief. So the two vacants that they have here, those in effect have been filled with promotions. So on the vacant sheet I sent you, there should be 2 vacant lieutenant positions. That are they have reduced this amount here. The lieutenant positions will be at a total cost of like $74,485. So the 2 vacant Greg Garrett and Prayers will become just lieutenants. And he's also, so that'll take that down, and then he's reduced his overtime from 190 to 180 if we will let him still have those lieutenants. But he says he has to have those lieutenants with the promotions because of the way they have the domino, because he's got to go all the way down. And basically, the money's not going to save to cut the lieutenants because they're going to have to work people out of class. They're already having to pay them out of class. So he's got to basically make the promotions. But if we can make the promotions and he get all the way down to a regular firefighter, he can cut his overtime down from 190 to 80. And he can cut the estimated promotions that's in blue from 35 to 25,000, which is the last line there. And the premium incentives up top from 13,500 down to 12,000.
Wait, where's premium?
It's above the overtime.
Okay, yeah.
So if I run all that out, I can tell you what all that new box will be. But also the caveat is, and Robert can talk about this a little bit, we got the actual health insurance. We had put 5% in. It's actually going to be 5.5. So we redid all the worksheets today with the 5.5 with the city absorbing. So I don't know if y'all want to take that part, but I went ahead, their whole box now is changed with the new rates, if that's what y'all vote, and these positions down. So however y'all want to do it, I can give you what the new numbers would be. If you don't want to take health insurance right now, we can just take the salary.
okay.
Can you tell me the premium incentives
what?
change and also the estimated overtime? I know did you say down to 190?
The 180, the overtime was already at 190.
190, okay.
Yeah, he would take the overtime down to 180 if we could keep the 2 lieutenant positions in. If Chief Hill, if I'm saying anything wrong, let me know. 190 down to 180, the premium incentives from 13,500 to 12, and the promotions from 35 down to 25,000. And know that those 2 vacant positions above there will be a lesser salary. They're going to be at 20. They're gonna be at 29 plus 10%. Both of them will be, not the 26.9. They're both gonna be lieutenants.
Okay, okay, let's take the insurance part first. So we just need a motion, I mean, we don't have any option here, we have to change it. So we need one motion to change all of that to 5.5.
Well, let me tell you what, we redid the numbers today. You know, for for 2021, fortunately, we only have to pay 9 months because it changes on 1/1. So we actually budgeted it as best we could with what people have. People can also change their health insurance on 1/1, so it's a moving target. We did the old rates for 3 months, the new rates for January. But that for so now, instead of the single being $494, single's gonna be $521, and health, family, instead of $1,206, it's gonna be $1,272. So that's an increase of $27 a month for single and $66 for family. That's assuming that the city picks it all up. Annually, it would be an increase of $185,000 for the city, but for 9 months, it'll be about $139,000.
Okay,
Don't they have to tell us by October 1 that they're doing that?
Yeah, so they always end up they always end up coming with the letter like a week or two after the mayor has to present his budget to you. So we always have to estimate our best guess, and then they end up telling us, so we end up having to adjust it sometimes.
We got this letter Friday.
Yeah. We begged for it all during the summer, but they won't tell us
they
until.
wouldn't send it to us. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, so we need a motion to amend the insurance from starting in January to 5.5 with the changes to the rates 525 and 1272, which is a cost to the city of $139,000 for the 9-month period. So I guess we need that motion first.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. Harden. I hate when they do this at the last minute, but this happens a lot.
Hey, after you vote, I'll just make, have y'all voted?
No.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions? They've been working on it, so you'll see that, but this was not something we wanted to hear. But anyway, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed by the same sign. That's 4-0, passes for the health insurance.
And just one thing, Robert, just to make sure that it was clear in my mind, but I didn't say it. If you look back on the first page of the payroll notes, we already had 5% in the budget that was given to you. So y'all are really only adding a 0.5%. We had told you that it was going to be $126,000 for 9 months, and now it's going to be $139,000. So you're not adding that whole amount. You're adding just that extra 0.5%. So.
Correct, okay. Okay, what would make it easier for me, I've written down a lot of notes here for the fire department. Can you give me the total savings by having the vacant positions? And,
Yes, sir.
Can you give me a total?
I think that,
I added 26.5, but I may, plus the,
let's see. All right. Okay, so for the fire department, from what you have in your budget, we've taken, one salary that was with taxes, at least 102,305. We've taken it down to lieutenant. So that's a savings of $22,122. And we've saved $1,500 on premium, $10,000 on overtime, and $10,000 on premium, overtime, and promotions, $15,000? $20,000. You said you could make that 20, right, Chief Hill, so 35? Okay, so that would be a savings, but this, not before pension, but just taxes, would be a position of 22,000, 1,500 of premiums, 10,000 on overtime, and 15,000 on promotions. So I've got 48,622 plus pension. We'd have to run that plus pension and workers' comp. So in excess of $50,000 with those two added in.
Okay. Okay, so let's hold that. That's the amount for fire. Okay, was there any, okay, you finished with fire?
Yes, sir, unless Mr. Chief feels that has anything else. That was all I had.
Okay, anything with police? Any vacant? There were two, weren't there?
Well, and that's why I talked to Chief Ross on it today. He said that he can hold the vacants. I had 4, and that's what I still need to talk to him about. I had a patrol, 2 corrections, and a dispatcher. In his department, we had a dispatcher 911 that he could move it to January funding, but we were going to make sure about that one position. So is it 3 or is it 4?
On dispatchers?
On just total vacant positions you have right now?
Well, like I told you on the phone today, we can sit on the vacancies with the exception of one police dispatcher. I need to hire one dispatcher if possible, and we can sit on those other vacancies until January if need be.
And the dispatcher he's talking about is in 911, so
Yeah,
it wouldn't affect the
Okay.
general fund budget.
Okay, so we're delaying 3 positions to January 1st, which is how many pay periods?
Well, we're actually, in his position, the way we have it here, we're going to be moving 4 out because the one he's wanting to hire is in Brandon Broadhead's position.
Yeah.
Okay, so delay 4 until January. Okay.
Yes, sir. So that would take, so if you looked at the 4 that are in green, instead of October 1st, they would be January 1st, but we did give the caveat to Chief to please check, see how we're doing on January 1st, because we won't have the mid-year review done yet, but we should know better how we're coming along. But that would be for 19 pay periods as opposed to 26. And that would bring that total with taxes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 136,302. And it was 50,425 plus 44,648 plus 45,723 plus 45,723. They're taking down 186,519 plus pension and workers' comp.
186, so last three.
519. Okay.
Oh, so hold on a second. This would be the difference between those two. I'm sorry, 136,
Okay.
306. It's going to be the difference between the 186 and the 136. So it's going to be 50,213 plus pension and workers' comp.
All right, I've got to do that again. 186, 519 minus.
Yeah, the 4
136.
positions at the lesser payroll is 136, 306, and they were 186, 519. So that's 50,213 plus pension and workers' comp.
50,000 what?
213.
213, okay.
Plus it'll be a little more when we run the pension number through it and all that, so,
Okay,
and the workers' comp.
okay. All right, we've handled the 2 biggest departments. Okay, what was the next one?
John Morgan on the court clerk, he can put one of those off. I don't think he'll be able to hire both of those in October just from the list, but they're in Fund 22. So I don't know if you want to change one of them to 19 pay periods. I don't think he'll be able to hire them both in. It's not going to affect the general fund, but it would affect the corrections fund. That's just whatever you want to do on that part.
What page is that one?
Court.
It's Department 20, he's 16.
Tab 16, 22. and-
It's the 2 that are in green.
Hold on.
So delay 1 to January 1.
Yeah, we have them budgeted at 26 now. If you took one down to 19, But like I said, it would not impact the general fund, but it would impact his corrections fund. I don't know that he could get both of them hired anyway by October 1st in the list. He typically has a hard time on that one, but, that would save on one position, $10,000 plus taxes and fringes, so. Or, probably closer to 15,000, something like that with everything in it. Let's see, 7.6.
Okay. So when you, yeah, let me know when you come up with that exact number.
Okay, let's see. Well, with just the, I won't know the pension and all, but with the taxes, it'll be, $10,382.
How much will come out of the 38?
And actually, they're budgeting corrections fund, so it'll be that middle box right there, it'll be in Fund 22 when we get to that. Those two were budgeted in the correction court.
$10,382. Is the court, okay. All right. Okay, what's next?
Okay, in the finance department, which is next to the last page, before E911. The accounting assistant 2, hold off on that until April 1st, which would only have it budgeted for 11 pay periods instead of 26. And that would be a savings of $19,326 plus pension and workers' comp.
$19,326 plus pension, okay. All right.
I don't think on Berkeley's Park, I don't think, unless he's here to say, I don't know of anything he can really change on that. Everything was for summer positions and camp counselors, unless he has something he knows he can do, but I don't know of anything.
Okay.
On traffic, let's get on traffic next. If you'll scoot up a few pages from the finance department on 22, that was the one that I told you. I thought that I talked to Randy that he had that one position, that vacant traffic control technician. That's a 21-4. He's had that one vacant for at least 2 years, if not 3. He's had a hard time with the list on that one. So if you look and see, we actually had Joseph Chestnut come back. He used to run that department and he retired. But the most that a retiree can make is $31,000 if they retire from the city. So he has already hired the second one, the William, is actually a transfer from Park. He's already hired him, and Berkeley's already hired that. But the one on top of that, Mormon, that person works right now for Berkeley and Park at the same pay, and so they're proposing to just let him stay at Park and not transfer right now, because that means Berkeley wouldn't have to add a position, and let him not start till January. And that would save, instead of 26 pay periods, it'd be 19, because when he transfers, Berkeley's going to need to hire somebody for that position. And then on the vacant traffic controller, he said that he would wait until May 1st after the mid-year review, if y'all would consider letting him have, he's got somebody in mind that's retired from another city, if he could have another retiree like Joseph Chestnut, that we wouldn't have to pay pension or health insurance to for $31,000. So I redid those numbers to see if you're agreeable with all that.
Okay, so what would that be with the 19 pay periods?
Okay,
That would be 19, right? That would be yours, since he said May 1st.
yeah,
Oh, that's right.
The Mormon would be instead of, no, I'm sorry, Mormon, he would bring on January 1st. That would be 19 pay periods. The vacant traffic control would be only for 11 pay periods funded, because he said he would wait till May 1st. But we needed to add another $31,000 part-time person.
Did he say Joseph was part-time, but we're paying him 31,000? What happened to him?
He's still going to come. He wants y'all to add another one if he delays bringing that classified position on. He wanted to hire another retired
Okay.
person that he has in mind that would.
Okay.
So instead, you would be decreasing that vacant traffic control tech, but you would be increasing a part-time person like Chestnut. But now his is split between 30% general fund and 70% Fund 4. But I'll just give you the total of all that.
Yeah.
So what was that? And then he would, so he's taking Mormon down plus the traffic control, and he's adding 31,000 there. Okay, so his old number was, so for Mormon, 3989 minus 24,331. So for him, he's taking him down by 6658, which is a full-time position, and he's going to be saving, I don't have all those numbers calculated, but he'll be saving, I can get those for you, but he's going to be saving the months on the health insurance and the pension, but just the gross salary for him is 6658. The gross salary on the traffic controller is 51,646 minus 23,522. Is $18,000 on the traffic controller plus health insurance and pension for those months. So he's adding 31,000, so it looks like it's a net increase, but it won't be once we take out the health insurance and the pension for the months that those people aren't, and I'll have to reprint those numbers for you. So he's taking salaries down by 24.9, and then he's going to increase wages by 31, but then I've got to take out the months that they're not going to be on the health insurance that they're budgeted for and the pension and all that. So I'll have to work that back up to you. It affects a lot of categories. And then you split it between the general fund and all that, so.
Okay,
People like me that can figure that out, with Robert.
okay, okay,
That's what she's talking about.
okay.
So in effect, it looks like he's increasing because he's taking out 24 and adding 31, but he's taking benefits out too. Which
Okay.
I'll have to redo all those numbers.
Okay, let me ask this. I thought that we were a little further along in terms of like getting like a recap of each department. Maybe we need to carry this portion over till Thursday so we can recap it and decide what we want to do. I mean,
Well, I mean, it's just that, it's that we,
Everybody's saving, well, I mean, we're saving on just about every department. one way or the other.
I guess let's plow through.
I mean, we just had to tell you what they were willing to do, and I mean, I couldn't. But
Oh, I
and
know,
had
I
to put the health
totally
insurance in there, too.
understand. There's just not enough time to calculate all this, and I appreciate each department head.
Well, how about if y'all do this, if we just tell you what everybody wants, and then let me go back tomorrow and reprint some numbers and send me payroll
That-
numbers, and you can
that-
see the total amount?
I think that's kind of what would be cleaner, so you
Yeah.
don't have to
I agree.
calculate on the fly. Just provide for us what the changes would be for each one, and then we'll let the calculations happen, and then we can vote on the calculations
Thursday.
once they go through. I
Okay.
think that would be better.
All right,
That's
so
a
just
great
back,
idea.
just back to recap, everybody in the city is gonna have 5.5% increase in insurance, which y'all voted on.
Yeah,
In the police department, the 4 vacant positions are not gonna be funded, on October the 1st. They're gonna be funded on January the 1st, with the caveat that we check to see if we can afford it in January.
okay.
The fire department now has 2 vacant lieutenants, and if y'all will keep those in there, they've dropped their overtime, their premium incentives, and their promotions numbers, and adjusted their tuition in schools appropriately.
Okay,
Okay, we took out one of the court clerk positions and didn't fund that till January. We took out a finance position until May the 1st. For Randy
Okay.
Hamley, we're gonna see about putting him another part-time person in, not funding his full-time that's been vacant till May, and then holding on to the person who was gonna transfer from Park and not letting them move till January.
you taking
Can-
notes?
Can I ask a quick
I'm
question?
trying to keep
So,
track.
so,
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
let's pretend on the police that, aren't we going to still have to budget the money for his January 1 hire somewhere in there?
Correct.
And we're gonna take it
We
down
have
to
to
26
budget.
pay periods.
Yeah, we're just adjusting it down to
Right.
when
Yeah, the money's already in there. We're
Right.
just adjusting the number based on
their number of pay periods and when they're
So,
gonna.
right.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's what he said I'll do tomorrow, is
I wanna
readjust
be
all his
caught
formulas and
flat-footed.
give y'all the new
In your
numbers.
free time.
Okay, and then on 911, we're gonna leave the vacant dispatcher position in there because that's the one that Chief Ross needs, and Brandon's taking it out of 911. Berkeley's, we can't do anything with his.
Okay.
And then the last department.
Sacred Cow, Berkeley.
The last 2 departments, one is that there was one promotion in there, the only promotion that was in Berkeley's in sanitation that was in the budget, and it was gonna cost $3,133. I didn't take that out, and I don't know if you wanna ask Berkeley about it or leave it in, or that's the only promotion that's in there for the city.
I just leave that in.
Okay, and then library, last thing on this.
Library, okay.
Okay, so if you go, just,
Where's the
so you'll see, if you go to the worksheet on library,
which is where
19 under tab, 1, payroll worksheet.
Walter, before we move too far, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
You took it out, you told me to take it out. I thought you said you could give it
Uh,
up when we read it.
Mr. Wolverton,
So,
yes.
just real quick, with police and fire, I heard 4 police positions. Are those, are we currently down those, or are those new positions,
They're
Chief
vacant,
Ross?
so-
They're vacant.
funded, but people aren't in them right now.
Okay, and what, I don't know for the record, but I'm assuming it takes a little while. What's the average length of training somebody new to police and to fire?
But they may can get a transfer, that's only budgeted at a certain level, because if they get transfers in,
Okay.
it may not be off the street, I don't know if he has any transfer prospects or not.
And then I guess the only other question I have to kind of follow up on that is if we continue to operate understaffed, are we incurring extra overtime costs by paying guys that we already have that then might flush out the cost of going ahead and funding positions now? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've looked at that.
And I don't know, I mean, Chief Ross and Nick, if you guys are, I don't know how the departments look in that regard, so.
I think our overtime budget is sufficient in the police department to work short, so to speak. We only have 1 police officer vacancy, and I agreed with Ms. Salter this morning to not fill that vacancy until perhaps January. The other vacancies were in the E911 center and then in the jail. And again, we have the overtime, we have a sufficient overtime budget to absorb those vacancies for the next few months and still be within our budget.
Chief Hill,
Chief Hill?
you're in the same boat, or?
No, we actually reduced the overtime to fill the promotions. The vacancies that we don't fill, we will pay the overtime, because we have a minimum staffing we have to maintain with the safety grant. But those positions are funded currently. So, based on what we have right now, we're funded.
he kept his vacant positions, and then he reduced his school tuitions and
Right.
other things that brought his.
that was one of the reasons why Chief Hill said he really couldn't do away with not unfilling the 2 lieutenants, because we're gonna spend it anyway in out of class pay. But typically speaking, Chief, we end up having 1 or 2 vacancies just because in corrections and all, because there's such a hard time getting a list and all that. We usually never have all those fully staffed. I don't think hardly in a year that
That's correct.
I've been here, because you have turnover and then it's hard to get, those lists are kind of hard to fill from. But anyway, so the last thing confusing to talk about, and then I will put all this together and send it all out to you with all the new numbers in a nice package bow, high-level overview that Dr. Doug liked. But it was hard to do that, not knowing.
I know,
what
I know.
y'all were
No,
agreeing to.
I know that.
You're doing great.
Keep going.
Library, if you look at the library on tab 1 that Debbie Fout had right now, you'll see up above that she has 6 part-time people that she already has back working that have names up in the top part. They're actually working curbside. So then she has all these green vacants, or people that used to be fully funded part-time people that are laid off right now. But she has, in her request, and I'm gonna get this right, Deb, because we've talked about it so much, if she's in there, I think she's on Zoom. She's wanting to trade 3 part-time people for a full-time person. Okay, that she's asked for, and in the budget, she asked it to be hired on October 1st. But she said if you'll let her have the person, that she will wait and not hire until January 1st and take it from 26 pay periods to 19. But it will be adding benefits. If you cut the position, she needs her 3 part-time people back. And also, in the green right here, all these make different hourly wages because they're different things, but they're basically budgeted to all come back on October 1st. So she went through this list with me that I can redo on the sheet, and she told me how she can stagger them to try to save some money, to where they all won't be coming back. Like, for instance, the very first green line, instead of being 10,008, it's now gonna be like 8565, because she's manipulating the hours, staggering them when she thinks. But with the caveat of the library, if they open earlier, she might have to come back, but this is her best crystal ball of how she could stagger her part-time people back to work to save money.
And so eventually, because I know she said something the other night, about the number of part-time people that she was bringing back, and I knew there were some that had already come back to do the.
Yeah, the ones, if you look up under, there's some that say PT and that grade step, they're already back working, so they've been rehired.
Okay. But is she bringing back all of these green?
This is 21 this is 21
So I
vacant.
thought she said a lower number. the other
That's what
night.
I thought.
Yeah, she said 3.
No, I thought she said 9.
No, she said
Nine?
she wants to bring 3 back, and I've got it on this new sheet. She wants to bring 4 back right now, starting October 1st.
Part-time, 4 part-time?
So when the new thing you'll get, she's moved 4 of the vacants to blue, saying, I want to hire them back now. She wants 4 of them, she wants back now. The rest of besides the 4, the rest of the stuff left in green, she's reducing the number of pay periods that she would bring them back, to where she's bringing it down. Like, for instance, on the last line, that vacant that's 14.7 for salary is now like 11,000. So she's tweaking them here and there, but she does want to bring 4 back now, on October 1st.
You said that she was willing to trade 3 part-time people for 1 full-time. So essentially, 3 of those part-time line items would be deleted if.
No, she asked her to make 2 part-time positions and exchange them for a full-time. So if you cut her full-time, she needs 2 part-times back.
Okay.
But she has said she would hold off till January, and I'm sure she's willing to even wait till, I won't speak for her, but if you're gonna cut it totally, she has to wait till April, May for the mid-year review, but she really wanted that position. So she said if y'all could even just, she wanted it fully funded, but if she said if you do January and then let us see where we are.
So is that the purple here?
Huh? It's the blue, that's the new request.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like a blue color. It's under right, and that's not Peter Wright. It's Judith Wright. But now
Okay.
that number right there
It's a
was.
purpley blue.
That number was for it to be for 26 pay periods, and so she's at least gonna take it down
Okay,
to 19 pay periods if y'all don't.
okay, I'm
take it down
sorry,
more.
okay, so let's start. I wish we had a whiteboard I could write on.
I'll summarize all this for you.
We got 21 open part-time positions. So
Yeah, but
are
I
we
think
reducing
sh-
all of those by number of pay periods minus 4 that are coming back? So are we reducing 17 of those down to a smaller number of pay periods?
Yeah, she actually had 23 vacants, but
Okay, I
but we
just-
didn't budget it that way because she's asking for that blue position. So if you count the vacants that I put in there, that should be 21.
So she is planning to bring all those people back between now and January 1.
Yes, there's 21 vacant positions
Okay.
in that green box that you got in your budget. There would be 23 that are still laid off, except she's eliminating 2 of them to get that full-time position. But now, in discussing it with her today, she needs to bring 4 of these part-time people back on October 1st. 6 of them are already back, if you see up there, they're not green. But she is, with the rest of them that she's not bringing back, she is adjusting them on a staggered schedule to try to save money from what this budgeted for the whole entire year.
Okay. Does everybody get that? Okay. That's a lot of changes.
I understand it, but I can't quote the numbers to you because I got to put them all in the thing.
Right,
But-
right. Okay. Is that the last department?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, does someone want to put that motion together? Or you want me to try to summarize?
Well, hey, do you want me, Darjan, do you want me just to get you all the updated things and then next week you can look at them just first thing and you vote on them then? Or do you want to vote without seeing what the numbers are? How do you want to do it?
I would like to go ahead and just vote on the
changes I just said?
changes, and then we can finalize. with
Okay,
the
do you want
numbers.
to keep her position funded until January 1st or do you want to move it back any?
You mean the full-time she wants now?
No, she moved it from now to January. But told her she's still, even with Chief Ross, I was like, they really still need to check with the mayor, the finance chairman, whoever, before we do, because we still got to see where we are in January.
I don't know. I mean, I need expertise from the director and,
She fought hard for the position. She had
I'm on the Zoom, but I don't know if you can hear me.
there she
No,
is.
guys, she's on Zoom. Let me turn.
yeah, can you turn her up? Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Deborah.
okay. Yeah, I wanted to get 3 19 hours and one person that's going to work every other Saturday back, starting in October when we open to the public until January. The rest of my part-time people will not possibly come back until we add back hours and services, and that's all dependent on the pandemic. And I don't imagine it'll happen till after January, and it may be later in the spring. And so I did want to trade 3 part-time positions for 1 full-time position, but I can wait till January to do that if that would, help y'all. But I have no clue when the part-time, other than I need 4 to open in October. But I don't know when the rest of them will come back. But I don't think we're going to have any change in this pandemic until, at least till January, and it may be later than that.
Okay, so does that mean that, since you said 3, I thought
And I put there,
So does that mean one additional part-time needs to come off the screen list? Since you took 2 out, but if we do the.
I think she
if
took
we
it
do
out.
the-
no, Debbie, what I sent you on there that had the 21 part-times, before we did what we did today, the 21 part-times plus that blue, you were fine with that, right? With your 6 that already you're still working above there, correct?
Yeah, what we were trading in 3 part-times for 1 full-time position is what it was, 3
That left you
part-times for
tw-
1
that left you
full-time.
21
But if I
vacant.
don't get the full-time, I need the 3 part-times when the pandemic ends. We're gonna need, when we get back to fully operational, we'll need those people back.
Okay, so before you said you needed the people start back, you told me today, what was in your budget that you saw was 21 vacants, part-time, a full-time, and then you had your 6 part-times that are already back. Is that correct? What you
That's
wanted
right.
then?
That's right.
Okay, so the vacants that I may have just typed it wrong, the vacants that she still has now, that just reduced hours, and some of them coming back now, is still 21.
I had a total of 30. I had a total of 30 part-time people. I laid them all off. I brought 6 back. I need to bring 4 back in October, and that leaves 20, Melody.
I got 21.
Okay, so
Okay, well,
one additional one does.
I think it's 20, but I'm not positive.
Well, if you had 30, you've got six funded, 21 still on there, and you gave up 3.
20 vacant, and I was willing of those 20 vacant to trade in 3 part-times to get a full-time, which would leave 17 then. But I'm not gonna bring any back but 4 at least until January, and it may be a lot later than January, because we just gotta wait to see how the
Okay, well,
pandemic's
she
gonna
only
work out.
has 30, then we have 6 up above there. We've still got 21 left. She gave up 3. That's still right, 21 plus 6, that's 27, she gave up 3, so it should be right.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. The only thing that's changed from what you have in your book is now that she's gonna have she's gonna have 4 of them with so with bringing them back now and keeping them fully funded, taking her part-time down to January, and then moving the rest of them to like January, not coming back till January if they come back in January, but they won't be budgeted fully like they are now. There'll be a reduction, from what she has in this page. It's just whether you're gonna give her the full-time position.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the changes for fire, police, court, finance, traffic, 911, and library as articulated by Ms. Salter?
I make a motion to approve all the changes as articulated by Ms. Salter.
Does that mean I have to type the minutes too for all this?
You're going to have to type the minutes, and you're going to have to put
Okay,
all this back on a paper for us to see.
yeah. And that's moved by Mr. Harden, second by Mrs. Smith. And we'll have a worksheet, and. Can you tell us what was articulated? Yes.
I'll send you a Reader's Digest version tonight before I go home.
Just
Yes.
don't get hit by a bus on the way home. We need you.
Exactly. Okay. It's been moved and seconded, and I will make some comments after we vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed by the same sign. 4-0, that passes. Okay, now,
Thank you all department heads that worked with me today.
okay, thank you for allowing us to do this. I mean, the reason we went through this exercise, which is obviously painful, but when we looked at.
Thanks a lot.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, this is, it's not because of you, I'm just
I
saying.
appreciate it totally.
This
I'm gonna
is
put all
a-
this stuff together.
Hold on a second. Let me finish. This is a meticulous exercise, mainly because, I mean, we saw, a report of, unfunded positions of 1.4 million. I mean, that's the reason we went through this exercise. So thank you to all the department heads for being flexible. And I want to be clear, Mr. Wolverton, I mean, we are not cutting positions as part of this exercise. I mean, and the last thing we want, and I've been through this exercise before with fire and police, the last thing we want is to have increased overtime. I mean, that's not what we want to do. We just want to determine what positions can we fill or can we delay in filling. And the library probably was the best example because we don't have patrons coming in the library, so we don't need 21 people working at the library until we get to full production within the library where everybody's coming in. So I want to make that clear as part of this is that we don't, I mean, we just wanted to get the numbers correct in the budget so that, and there are some savings here. So we can look, we're going to be looking at all of this in the mid-year review, and the police department is a good example of, there are some additional positions that we're going to look at it, and that's what the mayor had recommended in the budget to look at the mid-year review and determine kind of where we are. So That's why we went through this. Now, as part of this, I don't know that we need to go through each department on the payroll worksheets. All of that should be flushed out with the,
Summarize all the changes is what I did.
yeah. So is there a motion to approve the payroll worksheets contingent upon the updated amounts that Ms. Salter puts together? Because we do need to approve the payroll portion within each department. And we can go through each one, but we've essentially already done that by this exercise. What is the pleasure? Does that make sense?
Yes, I'm just wondering if it would make more sense to wait until we get those amended numbers on Thursday so that we can then approve the changes.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay.
Yes, because I'd like to see the actual numbers before we say,
Okay.
Yeah.
Good point, thank you. Okay, so we'll look at those changes. We need those by 8 o'clock tonight. So,
After you said painful, my feelings hurt.
I didn't mean it in a negative way, painful, I just meant
You notice Robert gives me this part.
painful in a negative way. Painful
in a positive way. That's right. That's right. Okay, so let me look back at our kind of our schedule of what we're supposed to be doing here.
I did put capital back because I was really afraid I was watching down the lane last night. I was afraid I was going to do a budget amendment in finance, so I was back there in my office going, they better not do that. But it looked like y'all have changed the turkey foot. So I didn't know if you were going to talk about that or y'all still with that.
Okay, yeah, let's go to capital behind tab 3.
I was going to get Ron to unmute me. I was going to say, y'all can't do a budget amendment when we're not much experience, so I'm not here.
I'm sorry, tab 9, you're right, I'm on the wrong one. Yeah, I'm stuck in general still. Okay, tab 9, capital projects, page 3. Okay, so, yeah, I still have a question mark by,
It's the 581723 engineering design, Oxford Road.
yes,
I believe the thought process was $10,000 in engineering and design plans, and then also a $200,000, sorry, $200,000 to secure a right-of-way negotiation agent, so that when AlDOT gives us the final go-ahead, in whatever future year that is, that we'll have that person ready and activated with hopefully some of the pre-work done to get that started, so that we can get the thing
beautiful,
done.
that was a beautiful recap. That's exactly what we talked about last night.
And then we also have the bond, the grant funds coming in.
Grant fund that will be,
168, we hope to get about 168,000 in grant money that we would have to, in the grants fund side to, but we'd still put the 210 on this side and have to transfer from grant, but the net cost this evening 42,000.
Okay, yeah, because, well, wait, no, I don't think the 10,000, do we get 80?
we do it, we do.
That's what we would have to pay back if we stop the project.
Right.
We've been getting that reimbursed.
Okay.
So that would, yeah, so the 210,
So you basically would have
168,
168,000
yeah.
in grant money and in grant fund, and you have it transferred to capital, and then you have transfer in from capital from grants of 168, and then the cost would change on that.
okay, perfect. So the 10,000, engineering and design, 200,000 for the right-of-way agent, as recommended initially by Mr. Higginbotham. And then we'll have the corresponding 168,000 in grant fund revenue. Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Higginbotham,
Second.
second by Mr. Harden. Okay. Any other questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign, 4-0, that passes. Okay, anything else with capital?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, can I ask
Sure.
a quick question? Just a clarifying question, because, gosh, we talk about so much in here. So on page 4, storm sewer and drainage, I know we've got this 100,000 in there. Is that strictly for repair, that 100,000?
Yes, it is. So I'll make a quick comment about that, because I had a question about that, too. As you know, the large number is from what we repaired last year. Yeah, Brookwood and all that. So, but based on kind of the situation where we are, we put 100,000, but Mr. Squires has mentioned that we could develop some type of RFP for a program to work through, but we're not to that point yet where we would know what type of cost that would be.
Because 100, it's really, is it preventative for us? I mean, 100 might be it, but it might.
That's just a fix.
And I think I had a note that we were going to discuss this again in mid-year review, just
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
kind of where we were and what we needed to do from there.
I just wanted to clarify, because I could not remember if some of this money was for study of the system and some for repair, but it's all strictly repair.
It's all strictly repair, and we would,
Emergency repairs, none of that was free.
But we don't have a ballpark number on what we think a review of the system in its entirety would cost. We don't.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I thought the discussion was we can come back with mid-year review.
Okay.
I work and kind of get with some people and you develop a RFP type plan and then bring it to y'all maybe mid-year and look at it and see what we thought that cost would be.
Okay, and that's fine. I was trying to get it straight in my head and had somebody ask a question about it today, and I was like, I don't remember exactly where we left that. So that answers my question.
But
Thank.
100,000 was for like emergency fixes, things like that. But we would come back in mid-year and look and see what we thought. Doing an RFP for that would cost as far as, looking to go out and bid with an RFP, get somebody to come in and, a study and a program on that.
All right, thank you. That was my question.
okay, thank you. Okay, any other questions on capital? Okay. Okay, well, let's do something really fun. Robert or Melody, you want to take us through the other funds one at a time?
Well, if I could do grants, I'll let Robert,
Okay, let's just go through them quickly here.
grants should be on tab 4.
Tab 4.
Okay, so, let me look at these real quick. So we still left the education, we didn't change anything I'll do with West Homewood. Now, I have a note from something Ms. Andrus said, but I didn't have a chance to look at it today because of payroll. She's saying that that's been done, and we need to take out that thing. We also have that out of capital. Okay, so we can address that on Thursday.
Okay.
We may have already got, we've already paid for that. So we need to look at that. We didn't show it, so we might have got to pay for something. So, circle the 47,988, I got to find out about that.
You want me to text Tab right now, or Fred or Andy? Andy's traveling back to Tampa.
I can call you tomorrow or whatever. but
Okay.
What we need to add the, was it 168, I guess we just said?
Yeah, the 168 would go here in revenues.
Is the TTN, 80% of the TTN. So we need to add on intergovernmental revenue federal, $168,000 for the Oxmoor Road. But also, now I had a note to remind y'all to do this, also the very first night when Rockhead was the star of the show and Ms. Smith too, finding revenue, or actually Ms. Smith found the reduction expense on transit. But Brandon told us about the SAFER grant, and we amended the general fund, but it has to flow through the grants fund. So the number was 148,118, so we need to add 148,118 to the intergovernmental federal revenue as well for the SAFER grant. Now, Robert, that number's still good, right? Okay.
148 what?
It was 148,118.
118, okay.
So we would be adding 168 top line, federal revenue for the Oxmoor, and we'd be adding 148, 118 for the safer grant that would get, transferred in on the next page to the general fund.
Okay.
And we got a question mark about the 47 that we'll find out for you for Thursday. But I definitely need those two added.
Oh.
I would move to add those two amounts to the intergovernmental revenue fund federal.
Second.
Okay, moved by Mrs. Smith, second by Mr. Higginbotham. Do have one question. Where are the COVID reimbursements going to go?
We didn't budget for those yet because we're still trying to see whether we're going to be able to get most of it this year. We're going to try to book as much as we spent as a receivable in this year in revenue because,
Well, I mean, shouldn't we?
We're not going to get it reimbursed this year, are we?
yeah, but you'll still book it as a receivable, as a revenue line item. It'll be a debit to receivable and a credit to revenue of what we spent this year. But we couldn't budget for COVID here to get reimbursed. So what COVID money we might spend next year to get reimbursed is not in the budget. So we didn't budget any.
Because we can't predict what we're going to have to do.
Right. And if it's budgeted, then it makes it fall out of.
Okay, I just want to make sure we've covered that. Okay.
But just to recap for the grants, Debbie did get an LSTA grant, or she applied for this one. I think she got one this year, where she uses it capital. But you see, it's like it's either 70. I've got it somewhere here. 75, 15, or 80, 20. But we actually have to move 6680 in from capital to match with the money. So she's getting 26,720, and we're having to spend 6680 for what she's wanting to buy into that grant. She usually gets one every year.
So
Helps
we
her.
net about 20 grand, is that what you're saying?
Well, we'll get 26 and we're spending 6, so yes, 20, but we're getting like a $30-something thousand asset for $6,000. And then, but the projects, other than what y'all just added, are all basically what Keith Strickland said, that his opinion was that we would get to the west side of 18th Street, which is the 80% of what he's saying that we're gonna spend on the expenditure side. That's the
Okay.
only project other than the Turkey Foot that's in there that's now has money that can be reimbursed. Because the rest of the projects we've moved off, the Diamond Interchange is not gonna have recurrent revenue because it's gonna just be a match. So that's basically page 1, and then,
Hold on a sec, we haven't, we need to vote on this, on adding these two. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed by the same sign, 4-0 for those two items, of 168 and the
So that's
148.
a little over $300,000.
Correct. Yep, that's correct.
Can I
Yes.
ask a quick question?
Mm-hmm.
Question I was going to ask a minute ago, I was a little lost, but I figured out which tab we were under. I didn't hear what you said. So, are we going to circle back to this Tier 1, Tier 2 discussion tonight, or is that being pushed off to Thursday as well?
If we have time, we will talk about it. It's, I was looking, I would ask for a recap. I don't know if you have a recap of cost, and I know that's going to take some time. You do? Okay. If we have time tonight, yeah.
I'm not on the committee, Chairman Jones, but I know that we kind of ended that way last time, and so I think, just looking around the room, I think a lot of people are here specifically for that. And I see some similar faces to the other night, some new faces. So, I mean, these are people that have taken time from their
Well, I mean,
schedules to be here
I
too.
appreciate that. We'll get to it when we can get to it. I mean, we have a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done, and this is a very complex situation. It's going to take time to work through. I mean, we can certainly talk about it. I wanted to knock out some of this stuff tonight.
These funds right here will go real fast. It's not going to be like.
Right, I mean, these funds are going to go really fast, but yeah, we'll get a recap, but it's certainly something that, I mean, we need to truly study this. And, you know, as I've shared before, I mean, my initial thought was to review it at the mid-year. We have until May, but, I mean, I know that's really not the consensus among finance, and that's fine, but we need to study it. I mean, I feel like we need to take some time. Yes?
I think I agree with you. I think we just need to make sure we're taking the time to do it, and I'm a little concerned that if we start now, we're not going to have time to do it tonight. I would rather try to knock out what we can knock out so that we can give it the time that it deserves.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I just, I think, I felt like the way it was spoken about the other night was, we're going to talk about it tonight, and that's why I think a lot of people are here tonight. So if we can give people a concrete idea of specifically when we can address it, they're taking time out of their day to be here too. So I just want to be considerate to
Right.
people that show up, just like we would with agenda items, so.
Okay.
My suggestion would be, let's see how far we get the rest of this stuff out, and then maybe at the end of this, we can sort of figure out a time that where we're giving everyone a better idea.
Yeah, I mean, these funds, that really is our last item that we need to handle before we deal with tier 1, tier 2. I mean,
And also the bonus, the bonuses and the insurance, the retirees' insurance issue.
Yeah.
We still have that.
yeah, those, yeah.
Yeah. Well, what y'all motioned tonight changes everybody actively, which is the big change, and then we just gotta talk about the retirees and how, what we're gonna do about that, but what y'all voted tonight, let's change everybody.
Right, but that doesn't address the, we have the one person hovering us above the, yeah.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Wolverton. Okay, okay, are we finished with grants fund?
Just gonna go to page 3, because of what y'all just changed on the first page.
Melody, can you turn on your mic, please?
I've never been asked to be louder. I'm always wanting someone to be quieter. So the $168,000 that y'all put in for the SAFER grant, that needs to now be an expense of 0211-566-010, transfer to general fund. I'm sorry, so yeah, 148-118.
This is on page 3?
Page 3, yeah. It has 0 right now, transfer to the general fund. It needs to now be 148-118, because grants fund doesn't keep that money. It gets it in and gives it to the general fund to pay back firefighter salaries.
So I would move to change that line item 11-566-010 to 148-118.
Second.
Been moved by Mrs. Smith, second by Mr. Carter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, 4-0.
Okay, and then lastly, the transfer to capital projects. Below that, we need to add the 168 that y'all just did for the turkey foot, because it will go into the to grants and then go out to capital, because capital's paying that bill. So it needs to be the 1,951,000, we need to add 168,000 to it.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Goodenough,
Second.
second by Mr. Carter. Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same sign. Okay, it passes 4-0.
And then there's nothing else in the budget other than on page 6, which is Debbie's $33,400 expenditure, which you just saw she got grant money for that. And she might, I wasn't sure what she's getting with that, if she gets it, but she might can tell you if she's still on Zoom. And that's all that we have left in the grants.
Okay. Moving on to, a lot of these should go fast. Robert, if you want to go over any of these, I have 5 7-cent gas tax.
Yes, sir, 7-cent gas tax. We do pay some salaries in the traffic department out of this fund. We also have electricity for street light maintenance, outlet light maintenance, and traffic signal maintenance, which is paid out of this fund.
And on your second page, all those numbers at the top are going to change with what y'all voted on tonight, so we'll have to reprint you
Okay.
for what we did in traffic, so those will change.
Okay, any questions? 7 cents. All right. 4 cents.
All right, 4-cent gas tax. This is, we also, last year, we started including the 10-cent Rebuild Alabama tax in this fund. This is where Berkeley will do most of the acquiring of material for street paving out of. This is a restricted fund for that purpose.
Okay, any questions on 4 cent gas tax? All right. Moving on, tab 7, Board of Education.
Board of Education, this is a transfer just from the city of Homewood to the Board of Education, transferring property tax payments.
How much do we send the Board of Education?
Property tax, well, to date, we sent $9.7 million this year. We're budgeting $10,049,000 for next year in property tax payments,
In property tax?
plus our sales tax that we funded as well.
We'll have that on your high-level overview notes when you get to the budget presentation on the 28th. We know what you like.
Yes, 10 million here,
Robert?
10 million there, before you know, you're talking real money.
Is that year-to-date still June 30th?
That's what's budgeted for, that's what he has budgeted for next year to send to the board.
No, I'm talking about the 9.7. Is that through June 30th, or?
Yeah, that's as of June 30th, but by then, by June 30th, we've got 98% of our tax collected in property tax.
Okay, any questions on that? Okay, moving on to debt service.
All right, debt service, funded by property tax.
And the 1 cent sales tax.
And we do transfer out of the general fund of the 1 cent sales tax, additional 1 cent sales tax that was passed when the bond issue occurred. We have our bond payments listed here. We have our, any type of capital loan payment listed here. We have the transfer from the general fund of the sales tax on page 1. And if you'll look down, we've got transfer for our, I'm sorry, this is the revenues from loan proceeds, which we are not borrowing any money this year from any bank or any lease or loan obligation for this budget. On the second page, it starts with the expenditures. You'll see we've already reduced the payment to the Jeffco Transit Authority. And then it lists our debt service payments, which are our bond payments and our capital lease payments. The main capital leases are the ladder truck, which will be paid out in, I believe, 3 years. We've got the radio, the police and fire radio system, which will be paid out very shortly. And then on the capital leases, which are mainly vehicle and fire, we have a fire truck, which will be delivered in October, November. Is that correct? A new fire truck which will be delivered. And the library expansion loan is paid out of this account.
Any questions?
I feel like, can I ask a quick question? I feel like we talked about this so long ago, I cannot even remember. What was the reduction at BJCCA again? Was that because they,
Yeah, it went to 71,270.
and what was they came to us and said we've basically overcharged
They
you?
gave us a 30% discount because they were
Right.
using CARES Act funds to give all of the participating
Okay.
municipalities a discount.
Got it, okay. It's been so long since we had that
I know.
conversation, I can't even remember. Yeah, that's what I think I had a dream that they came, right, I think I dreamed that. Okay, thank you.
Yes, that was good news. Okay, capital projects fund.
Just pass that. Yeah, tab 10, environmental escrow. This is funds for litigation for testing at
Was that Jiffy
dry
Lube
cleaning
place or
site, I
something?
believe.
Yeah.
Was that Buffy, what is that? It was, not Jiffy Lube, but it was a cleaner place? Is it Jiffy Lube? Okay. Hey, insurance,
We're going to pass on.
because it comes from the general fund.
Okay. Moving on to insurance fund, fund 15.
All right, look at the insurance fund. This one is a pretty strong increase. We're budgeting 1.129 million this year. We added $50 million of assets to the city's insurance policy. We had a $22 million asset in the police building and then the park facility. So they did tried to get our policy and our premium as low as they could with any type of discounts that they could offer us. And also our workers' comp is up slightly, just due to some large claims that we've had with just a few individuals. Overall, our workers' comp claims are down, but we have a couple individuals that have sustained some serious injuries that had to be compensated for out of our workers' comp fund. So that's the main increase here, the two reasons for the increase. And we had, our automobile policy went up about 10% because we've had a high number of, really, there were a high number of accidents with police vehicles, and a lot of them were pursuits. And I read one letter from the adjuster where they were praising the police officer for blocking the felon that was trying to flee and using their car to block, but it was still a claim. They just, talked about the great driving and all this stuff, but then he said, but y'all still get nicked and here's your deductible.
We can replace that car.
It was block on green, it was on Green Creek or something. It was kind of, I'm sure the people involved weren't funny, but the way the letter was written was funny.
All right, any other questions on Fund 15? Okay.
Right.
Moving on to 15.
Okay, E911, this is our dispatch fund, which we get money from the state and the telephone surcharge. And the fund balance went down on this account because they were able to use, this is very restricted money. We get audited on this every year, and we were able to use, was it $350,000, or was it $250 or $350? A large portion of the money to go into the new dispatch center at the police.
And John
police
Morgan
building.
used some too, out of Fund 22.
Yeah, the court department was able
And
to
when
do
we
that.
get audited on that, as a side, you like a fun fact, but this isn't really fun. At least when we're audited in the main city, they have a concept called materiality, where they don't look at every bill we pay. They look at the bigger pictures of our general fund. They look at every transaction of 911, and they are serious. They do not play. Every bill, there's no materiality with the state examiners. They are strict.
A couple years ago, they made, produce shirts that have to have E911 on the shirt, or it's not an eligible expense. Yeah.
So they don't play when they come in. I was like, what's the materiality? He's like, no, we need to see every transaction that happened, and they audit 2 years at a time, so. Kudos to Brandon, shout out, and Nick Hill for helping us have that really smoothly last few years. It has been more stressful in the past.
This is behind Fund 13 is our corrections jail fund, which is revenues derived from our court system, which our police department has discretion over. And
We pay one correction salary out of that, and some overtime, and so it'll change based on the health insurance cost, so we'll have to redo a little bit of that. There's one person's salary paid out of that fund.
And I would say that the departments do a good job of taking this discretionary money and using it to help the general fund with salaries and revenues for their employees. Fund 22 is the court side of the corrections fund, which is court revenue that John Morgan has discretion over, and he pays salary. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so he pays some salaries out of this fund as well for some of his employees that work in the court system.
And that's where those two vacant ones that we looked at are budgeted, and plus, there's a lady that's already working full-time and some part-time people, but the two full-time court clerks were gonna be in this fund that y'all reduced by some pay periods, so those will change.
And John even diverts some expenses from the general fund to his court funds, printing, supplies, that type of stuff. Behind tab 15 is the municipal court special fund. Again, it's revenue derived from court. It's a smaller fund, but he uses it to buy some materials and memberships and travel and conference and such out of his, to offset some general fund expense. Anything related to court that he can place here, he'll do. But it's not a large revenue fund. Inspection technology.
We gotta print them a new one.
I'm sorry?
We gotta print them a new one somehow, the one that y'all got in your book was an older version, so if we can skip that one, and we'll give you a new clean copy.
Inspection technology? Okay.
25, the next one. Yeah, we need to print you, the one that got in the book was not the last version, so we need to print you a new one. If we'll make a note to give you that one back on Thursday.
But, so everyone will know, this is revenue that's derived from the sale of building permits. a small portion goes into the Expectant Technology Fund. And this has been used for various things in the past to benefit the city. We put the executive time management system came out of here. I believe James Yates purchased some of the remote computer items out of this fund in the past, so it's been beneficial to have this revenue. And some of the BEZ's software and all gets paid out of this fund. Some of their,
Okay, we're not going to approve this one tonight until we get the new.
Yep, we'll make, I got a note made that we'll give, that we'll get you a new one.
Construction fund.
construction fund, that is the bond revenue, the bond money we've received, that we're about to be at the end of that adventure. I was checking the balances the other day. We have some bills that came in today for the police building. And we're looking at well, I wish all the bills were, but we're looking at about a $4 million revenue left over for other projects. I know you've committed 2.5 to Green Springs, so we've been pretty consistent as what we've been projected would be available at the end of these projects.
Somebody was looking for that one in the capital, but that's, that was in Fund 26 because we're using the bond money for that.
Judicial Admin Fund, again, it's a court restricted revenue fund that John Morgan uses, and he pays some salaries and some supplies and postage, et cetera, out of this fund to operate his court system.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
See, we told you we could fly through it.
Okay, and I almost need, maybe next time, I know we can always improve on our process. And maybe one thing we do, Mr. Wolfman, is I put out an agenda, and I say, here's what we're gonna try to accomplish, at what time we're gonna try to accomplish it, so we're clear on that. Okay, so in the time remaining, which is not a lot, since we're already over, recap on Tier 1, Tier 2, let's go ahead and.
Mr. Chairman, don't we need to, are we going to vote on these?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Let's go ahead and vote on, the motion be to approve
except for
all
25.
other funds except for Fund 25.
So moved, except for Fund 25.
Thank you for keeping me straight.
That's Mr. Harden.
Mr. Harden and Mrs. Smith seconded that motion to approve all the other funds except Fund 25, and we'll come back to that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, by the same sign. Mr. Triggerbottom, that was not very enthusiastic. Aye. Okay, that's good.
You sound like a pirate.
Okay, so, let me be clear. Let's get a recap from Mr. Burgett, and then on Thursday at 4, we will immediately start talking, we'll immediately work through the Tier 1, Tier 2, retiree bonus, insurance, any additional personnel, and then we can talk briefly about the bonus, but mainly those 4 items on Thursday. Am I missing anything major? Okay, go ahead.
All right, Tier 1, Tier 2 conversion. I'm working off current year numbers. They have not provided us any actuarial studies for next year. When the city makes a decision to convert or not to convert, it will be effective on October 21st of 2021. The cost to convert all employees to the Tier 1 benefits, the total cost is $643,141. That's what we are unfunded to convert that. They're amortizing that expense.
Is that per year, or is that?
That's the total cost. They're amortizing that expense over 15 years for us. The first year cost will be $130,000. And I tried to get them to tell us how they were doing it, on what percentage basis. They could not give us a definitive number. The first year cost is $130,014. And the way that we would pay for that would be, it would raise our factor on each employee, whether they're Tier 1 or Tier 2. The Tier 1 employees factor will raise to 16.11%, and the Tier 2 employees factor will raise to 16.67%, and that is for 15 years. And then after 15 years, we'll get on the Tier 2 employees, the increase in the factor is 1.86, and the Tier 1, it's 0.31. After 15 years, it will reduce, those numbers will be removed from our factor, but we do not know what our factor will be in 15 years. It goes up every year. We've never had a year where it's actually declined. So it's looking that it will cost us, again, it'll be $130,000, which we put into our RSA contribution on an annual basis.
The total cost.
Sorry, Brian.
The
Total cost,
$643,141.
First year cost, $130,014.
But it's going to be plus the
130.
increase of the pension, plus the increase of the factor for,
No, that is,
when does the factor change? October of 21 or 20?
October 1. It changes,
To
you talking about,
When does
if
it
we
change to
adopt,
16? Yeah,
if we
when is it?
adopt the Tier 1 conversion, it will not change until October 1 of 2021. Is that what, 2021?
Yeah, so the
Next
factor
year.
we use for this budget is
Yes.
still good, okay.
Yes.
Are you saying, I thought I heard you say we're going to pay $131,000 a year, and we got 15
No,
years?
it's not an equal amount each year. I
Okay.
tried to get that information, it's not. The first year, they're assessing us a factor which will increase our RSA contribution by $130,000.
And then somewhere after we're all said and done, we're going to have paid $643,131
Yes, sir.
total to RSA.
Over 15 years.
But the 130,000 is part of that 640.
Oh, yeah, I got it.
That is correct, yes.
I thought he said every year. we're gonna
Thank
pay
you for that
I was
clarification.
I was thinking that's a heck of an interest rate they got us.
Yeah, that's good. But,
Yeah, and, okay, continue on. Did you have some more?
well, no, and the cost of the conversion is 100% the expense of the city. So the Tier 2 employees will have Tier 1 benefits, but the city's going to bear the cost of that.
Sure.
Not, the employees are not having to make additional contributions.
And that might be different than what some were, but if you go back to 2011, this was what Robert was here, but the mayor and I actually had to ask y'all we were one of the first cities that had to adopt that 676 Act that the legislature passed, where we actually went from, that was before there was a Tier 2, but the Tier 1 used to be 5% for people like me and 6% for fire and police. But we actually had to ask y'all to let us go under that act from the legislature, it's Act 676, to be 7.5 and 8.5, because our pension costs had risen so high. We were still coming out of the 2008, 9, 10, recession. We were having a hard time that year budgeting the increased factor. So if we passed on that 2.5 to employees, our factor went down. Of course, now it's crept back up. But I think the other city, we're in the minority, I think, of who already have passed that. But if they pass this now, they do the 7.5 and the 8.5, correct, Robert?
That's
It's just that
correct.
we've already done it.
Right, yeah.
We can't pass any more on the employee, because that's by legislative of the RSA.
And let me just, I did some numbers, and I've been talking with RSA. This is what RSA has used this year to come up with these calculations. They're saying that the city of Homewood has a $43 million unfunded pension liability, and of course, that number is really a number that the city would have to stop doing business today for that ever to become due. But at the same time, we have $69 million of assets in the city of Homewood's name down at RSA. And they're projecting a 7% return of rate on interest, which they have earned a much greater return than that this year, than 7%. And they're also projecting 3% inflation this year, which inflation has not been at 3%. So there's the possibility that next year these numbers could be better for the city when we actually adopt the program. But one thing, other than that, I did some scenarios for the last 5 years. And the largest expense to the city is our cost of personnel, and the largest increase in that cost over the last 5 years has been our pension cost. It's gone up considerably higher than even our salaries or our health insurance, and health insurance has gone up considerably over the years. But we generally run 48% of our personnel costs as a percentage of our general fund revenue. For 3 years, I have actual numbers at 48%. This year, and it's a projection because September's not finished, it comes in at 49%. Next year, we're looking at 53% before we even consider the factor of adding the additional pension costs. So next year's personnel cost as a percentage of our general fund revenue is growing, which is
That's
something.
when our revenue's down too, that's one of the reasons too.
Just based on our budget for next year. And I base that on actual revenue this year, but everything is actual revenue, not budgeted revenue. So that's one thing we have to look at going forward is trying to find a way to control our health insurance, which is our second highest increase in personnel costs, and then our pension is our highest increase in personnel costs, as a percentage, not as a dollar amount.
Right. Okay, any questions for Mr. Burgett? Okay, and then I want to make sure, Mayor, did you, I know you didn't put any type of calculation there. Did you look at this in preparing the budget, converting to tier 2? Did you consider that as part of when you were working on the budget? Does that make?
You do not discuss that this is probably taken up at the mid-year review.
Okay.
And one of the times that the mayor and I met, I put all these papers out there and we were talking about it, and then we talked about the revenue deficit. He said that this really doesn't need to be considered until a future date. And he was aware that we had till May to get it done, so.
Okay. I just want to make sure you were able to say, go on record as to why it was not recommended in here. So it was, your thought was to consider it at mid-year review. Okay, any questions on that?
Can I comment to that?
Sure.
I just feel like, based on the conversations that I'm having, that we're vulnerable to people coming to take our well-trained, highly qualified people that we have hired. So that's why I feel like we need to take this up now versus waiting. I think it leaves us vulnerable to our surrounding communities that are all converting and making that move now and can promise that to an employee, a future employee.
Yeah, and this is just something this was totally out of our control, that the reason we're in this. So we're basically, that's why I get frustrated with it, because we're having to react to I mean, I know this was 7 years ago when this was enacted, but I don't think people realized the implications at the time, and now. So it's something we need to do. We need to determine, and I'm open to, if y'all want to make comments tonight, we can certainly work through it. If you, Robert, can you forward all this to the committee?
Yes, sir.
So that you can kind of study it between now and Thursday, and then we'll take it up. We'll take it up Thursday, I guess. Does that, anyone have any comments they want to make tonight, or you?
I mean, I would just echo what Jennifer said. I mean, we've already had some issues with people trying to come get people because they know these surrounding communities that have already gone to tier 1. They can offer that as a incentive, and that's valuable to a lot of people.
Right.
Because as we've said, the insurance is what the benefits of a wreck,
Yeah.
or the expense.
Mr. Wolverton. Yeah.
So somewhat selfishly, although not really at all, because I'm a state employee, not a city employee, but I am tier 2. So this item obviously hits home a little bit more uncomfortably than I'd like. But I think in reality, from the discussions I've had, obviously you alluded to it. I think the state kind of underestimated or didn't take into account public service employees who have, in many ways, much more physically taxing job demands than other state employees or municipal employees do. And I would concur with Councilor Andrus and Smith, that it's not just about people taking our employees now, it's about people continuing for years and years in the future to get hired here as a stepping stone, get their training under their belt. We spend thousands of dollars training, good employees, and then unfortunately, at the end of the day, you have to make a decision for what's best for your family. And, I can't fault anybody for that, but I would hate to lose a lot of the talented people that I know work here for the city and are those people that keep the city running 24 hours a day. So, but I do understand that there are some implications for us as a city, because we do have more city employees than many other neighboring communities. So I don't take it lightly, for sure.
Right.
But I just want to make it clear that I do understand it's a difficult situation, but I sympathize with the people in the room, and I think as a city we need to really think long term, not just short term as well. So,
Dr. Jones, can I say one thing, and it's neither for nor against, just that it is a complicated issue, but just a little bit of past history on the RSA. Until what was it, 2013, there wasn't but a tier 1. But they've kind of gone back, and like what Andrew said, the RSA has an umbrella, and you've got the state, and you've got the teachers, and you've got us city, which is the ERS. But they've been back and forth all over the place, and they definitely don't understand how payroll works anyway, because when we first started, well, I'll explain what I'm saying, because you're ADP, you'll understand. When we first started this a long time ago, and people know, your overtime that you work, like police and fire, if they worked overtime, that was all could be part of your retirement, because there's a formula about how when you retire, what you get, and it's the highest of your last. So they had a problem. I'm not saying from us, but I know I've heard from some of the state departments where they try to pad their overtime the last 3 or 4, 5, 6 years so that their monthly draw would be bigger. So right after I got here to Homewood, in a couple of years, the state said no more overtime. If no overtime can have pension taken out of it.
So there was a pass-through, a workaround.
So it used to be all overtime was pension subjected to pension. Then it was none. Well, then we had some state lobbying groups came on for certain departments, and they put it back. But this is why I say they don't understand payroll, because they've made it so difficult. Now you can make up to 120% of your base salary in a fiscal year, which calendar payroll is all driven by calendar, but it's 120% of your base salary you can earn overtime on that part, and then when you hit 120% of your base, we can't take any more overtime. So you imagine what ENCO's had to do to try. So my personal pet peeve was whoever came up with that idea and does not understand how payroll system works. But so they have tried all these things because of the unfunded pension liability growing, because when GASB made us put them on our books 3 years ago, Homewood, and you've heard a lot of controversy during the election about unfunded pension, but we were one of the few we were a city fortunate that we were still on paper solid, we still had assets to cover that. There are some cities on paper that once they put their pension liability unfunded on there, they're basically bankrupt, so to speak, on paper, because it's a long-term liability. But there's been all this different, so it's almost like they overcompensated with the tier 1, tier 2, but it's just like with the overtime. I mean, it's almost like, please just put it all back, because either do it or don't do it, but trying to let you, because here people get merits during the year. It's a moving target, and for us trying to monitor, and they put that on us, the RSA makes us have to monitor it, but you can imagine how difficult in a fiscal year, not calendar, which is what payroll year for, to try to see when an employee reaches 120% of base, they can work overtime but no pension. So it's been a big
Yeah, and I think
mess.
that was our understanding, was that it was an overcorrection on the state's part. In an effort to fix something, they actually created a lot of other problems.
But that's what the whole overtime issue's been too, is because there have been people that, quote, pad their overtime the last 3 or 4 years to get that base up.
Right.
And so they'll work all this overtime, which the supervisor, whoever's letting them at whatever departments should say no, but so that that's where the pension liabilities grow. So they said, okay, no overtime. So we had to write rules that said we couldn't take pension. Because right now, normally speaking, if you pay somebody wages, you've got to take pension out. But then we had to make it where you didn't do an overtime. Then you do it back on overtime, and then you got to do the 120% base. So they're all over the board, but it all has to do with this unfunded pension liability that everybody's really come to light about because now it's on our balance sheet for the government-wide statement. So, anyway.
They even came in and enacted a couple years ago for part-time employees, if they work over 20 hours a week, we were now
One time,
required to
if they
take
work there one time.
One time, period, then you have to take RSA for the remainder of their employment.
So we have to make sure we keep part-time people 19 or less, unless we're gonna try to add pension liability, pension benefits to them, so.
All right.
Fun.
Fun. Okay. So I apologize, we've gone so far over. Maybe we can shoot for an hour and 15 minutes on Thursday if we can, I mean, a lot of it, we need to study this, we need to look at the insurance, and I think we're getting fairly close here. And we need to, vote on the merits and everything, all the merit increases that are part of payroll worksheets, just prove that. And then the insurance, we've, need to talk about that. Okay, anything else? And we will, we'll continue this meeting till Thursday, and we'll start right back on this and hopefully come to a resolution.
So just for clarity's sake, are we talking further about this specifically on Thursday? Is that the plan, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, Robert has a lot of information he's
Sure.
going to distribute, and then if you can, Robert, if you can provide some information on other cities. I don't know, there aren't many comparable cities to Homewood. Vestavia is half the number of employees that we have, so they're not comparable. But if they're going to be taking our employees, and that's something we need to talk about, but if you can provide us some information on, what other cities have passed this.
I have the list of all the cities that have
Oh,
passed
you-
it, including ones that have just passed it this past week that I will send out to everybody.
Okay, and then the ones that are maybe in process of discussing it, I'm sure this has to be going on in every,
It's basically every city except for Mountain Brook.
It's basically us and Mount Brook are the only ones that have it,
that-
in our general vicinity.
so they've handled it before budget hearings.
Yes,
county and Shelby
Irondale,
County.
Trustful,
Okay.
Alabama.
There's 800 members in RSA that are eligible to convert, and 6 weeks ago, 300 had already sent in their resolutions.
But Trustful has a 9% pension cost, we have a 16% or 15.8,
Right. I
so.
know there's differences,
yeah.
I'm just saying. the
It's
list
a
of
lot
cities
easier,
that have
it's a
done
lot
this
easier
are-
for them to absorb the cost at a 6% factor.
I get it. but-
Okay. Anything else that you need, please let me know, or let Mr. Burgett
For 9%,
know,
I think they're
and
9%.
we'll get that for you.
But thank you for even getting to where we did tonight.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Appreciate that.
I'm a little, I'm just frustrated because we've had so much to do and we haven't had enough time to do it. It's just,
It's just 2020.
I know, it's 2020. Someone said that
We need to send them.
next weekend, they're not going to set their clocks back an hour because they don't want another hour of 2020.
Amen.
So they're just going to stay on daylight saving.
Okay, Dr. Jones, in your defense, now, we had some hard issues to tackle now, come on.
That's right. Okay, so we're continuing until Thursday at 4 o'clock, and then we will try to finish at 5:15
Hey,
on Thursday.
y'all get a Subway